Hey, John. Given obviously all the news today, I guess just your thoughts on the trade and just how your team responded, today afterward on the ice.
Well, I talked to the two players, Laine and Rodzovic, and they're really excited. So I'd like to get them here as quickly as possible. We're thrilled. I'm really anxious to work with them, and I was just sitting in the office trying to figure out lines. So we're very excited about what happened today, and more importantly, right now, I just really like the structure of our game tonight. We've been a team just lacking that structure in the middle of the ice in the neutral zone. We focused on it with the video. It's been a big part of our meetings prior to the game. I thought we were much more concentrated on that part of the game.
Did the situation that you had there before the trade, did that play into that at all, do you think? I mean, did you guys need to get by that situation as fast as possible?
What situation?
With Pierre-Luc and not wanting to be here and that whole thing.
I'm like I said yesterday, I'm coaching the hockey team, and who's on our bench, we're going to coach them. And if there were some struggles and continued struggles, certain things happen, and it could happen to anybody. So that right on through. And I said, I know you guys have to ask the questions. I don't concern myself with it. I'm trying to coach the hockey team to be the best it can be, and I'm not worried about any one particular individual.
Did you speak with Pierre-Luc before he left, or no? No. Okay.
Next we go to Aaron Portzline. Go ahead, Aaron.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, John. We've talked in the past about this team and how hard it is at times for this team to score goals. You acquired today a player who's one of the singular goal scorers in this league of his generation. How much just having that in your arsenal now can change the feel of this club? Obviously, it's not all on him, but you've got a guy that can score out of nowhere a bit now.
Yeah, it's obviously he can score. And talking to Jarmo knows him pretty well, and I always talk to Jarmo about the players. Jarmo says he can pass the puck too. He's a really good playmaker, and I watched some of the highlights of his last game. He's been nicked up a little bit. Big part of their win in Winnipeg. Yeah, I talked to him on the phone. Yeah, he is was really good conversation. We just need to, not sure what it all entails as far as getting them here and getting them on the ice with the protocol and visa and all that. But we're really excited about both of them coming, Jack and him, and just the excitement that they have is really encouraging for us.
You've talked in the past about Jarmo and his strengths as a talent evaluator. He was in a situation where I think everybody knew he had to make a deal. Yeah. He comes out with this package coming back, two would appear pretty useful parts for you. Just your thoughts on what he was able to turn from a pretty bad situation that needed to be dealt with to get this out of it.
Yeah, I think he's very good at it. I don't think he's afraid, bringing in bread and all that stuff. And he is, he got put in a hell of a spot. It was a hell of a spot he got put into here. And that's what bothers me the most, the spot that he was put in. He stood right in there, and I talked to him a couple times yesterday, the amount of time he was putting into things. Yeah, so we're very happy that he found the way here, him and Chevy, and we're really excited about these guys coming to us. Jarmo's not afraid of trying to make his team better and putting his neck out there a little bit at times. So I think that's a really good trait of his.
Was there a sense today in playing this game that you've got your team back? In other words, that it's all about the right things now?
Well, I think it was an important game in where yesterday's workday was based on structure, and we showed it. Video, the two meetings today was basically on some patience in our game and structure. As I said to you prior, you got to be really careful with the language you use when you're trying to maybe go down the other road, trying to get a little offense. We were just too wide open. We really didn't have any concentration away from the puck, and that's what I'm encouraged about this. And you end up getting a result. I think it's always important for the players, especially, to get a result. Coaches, sometimes you don't get the total result, but then you see some of the play, and you're happy about some of the things. But players want results, so I think that'll double it up for us in how we handle ourselves away from the puck. And so hopefully we just need to gain some traction. We can't give up the chances we've been given. And we needed to gain some traction in that part of the game. Then we can explore some other stuff along the way.
Thanks.
Morning, Paul. What are you getting and what are you giving up in this deal?
We're giving up an elite shooter that I firmly believe is going to develop into a strong, very powerful power forward. And then we're going to get a power forward that I think is going to develop into an elite point producer. So different starting points, they'll both get to, in my mind, at the end of their career, the same place. They're both going to be big, powerful men that'll drive play and drive offense.
We'll go next to Scott Billick. Go ahead, Scott.
Hi, good morning, Paul. I guess, and I asked Kevin this as well. I'm just wondering, from your perspective and having coached Patrik now for, I guess 5 years or 4.5, 4 and a little bit, what is your take on, I suppose, what didn't work out for Patrik here?
I'm not sure a whole lot. Like he came in and showed that he could score at an elite level and played with good players and did that. The opportunity going down the road going forward at the time, our driver, our number one center, and Patrik, the hockey that they played together last year, it wasn't a natural fit for them. That might be it when he looked at, where he would end up, who he would play with. But he was given a real good opportunity to score goals and be on a real dominant power play, and he took full advantage of that. He also, developed into a guy that was playing, as most of these kids come in, they play in the 3-hole, and God, produced a ton of goals for us, played well in that hole. And as he developed up, I don't know what his final numbers were. He was minus 26 a couple of years ago as he fed further up our lineup, and then he made a jump to being a plus player. So he certainly developed. He was a shooter only early on in his career, got stronger and stronger. And I think when even the glimpse of training camp that we got at him in game 1 that he played before he got hurt, he's not far off from being that big, powerful man that can do both score goals and control play.
Go next to Ted Wyman from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Ted.
Hey, Paul. Nick Ehlers was on here, and he was very clearly very emotional. Blake seemed pretty emotional, too. I imagine a lot of the team are. How do you sort of get them refocused here when you've got big games tonight and tomorrow? Well,
it's always tough when you've got a guy leaving your room, trades on game days. I look for signs of it. Didn't see it in the, so this happened prior to the morning skate. So the morning skate happens. They were sharp. I think we'll be right tonight. I think our energy is going to be good. This is a big, it's a big name going out and a big name coming in. So there's an energy level just that comes with that. And I think you'll see it on the ice.
And we'll go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Morning, Paul. I suppose this is in the category of really good problems to have, but what do you do in the short term once Pierre-Luc is through quarantine? What do you do with Paul Stastny? And Kevin mentioned potentially moving him to the wing. Is that something you've talked to him about, and how do you maybe see it all shaking out?
Yeah, so that we'll before the final decision is made, when you've got a gap, you got to wait to see who's left playing. Injuries before I can tell you what the lineup's going to look like. That is an option, Paul, going to the wing. We have talked about it, but we had talked about it maybe briefly before. Whenever a player comes in, I kind of ask them, those are standard intake questions, especially centerman. If you ever move to the wing, are you more comfortable on the left and the right? I very probably had that conversation, did have that conversation with him today. He's got a high comfort level with it, so that is an option for us.
We'll go next to Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
Paul, when that high a draft pick as Patrik and that kind of talent wants out, it has to be seen as a failure on some level. How much of that do you accept?
I would say all of it would be on me. I mean, that's the environment you're trying to create for each player, is for them to feel like they have the opportunity to be at their best. And that's the function of my job, whether you can get it to that. I mean, I think I would suggest to you that when Patrik came in and worked as hard as he did this year, we were kind of constantly trying to work on that, right? Trying to constantly get to the point that Patrik appreciated who he was playing with and the opportunity that he was given, and felt we had made great strides in that coming into this year. It's the head coach's responsibility. So I'll take all of that, but I'll make sure that I would take then the responsibility for some of these other young players who are developing incredibly well and having great success here.
We'll go next to Sarah Orlesky from TSN. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, my understanding is that Patrik was here maybe when the trade went down in the building. Did you have the opportunity to speak to him at all since it's happened?
Yeah, I did. Before we went on the ice, the trade was done. The trade call was made. So Patrik didn't, I mean, he was here until just recently. He spent quite a bit of time here and talked to everybody. So it was good. You want to make sure that you get a chance to say your goodbyes and to the well wishes. So we had a real good chat, and I enjoyed the opportunity for sure.
Go next to Jeff Hamilton. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Paul, it wasn't exactly a quiet exit for Pierre-Luc Dubois from Columbus. And I'm curious, for an organization that prides itself on character, when you see a player who seemingly had some evidence that he gave up on his teammates, if you're wondering what exactly you're inheriting.
Yeah, so I wouldn't attach myself to any of the words that you just said. But, I don't know what went on there. I mean, I know you get the camera on him and you decide what you see. None of us were a part of what went on there. You have no idea what went on in the background. So I'd be careful with my character assassinations before I get to meet the man. He'll walk in here, he'll present himself, we'll accept him with open arms, as we always do with new players, and we'll judge him by how he becomes a Winnipeg Jet.
We'll go next to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
So, Paul, you talked about that balance of, finding opportunity for all the different players that you have in your lineup. And was this an inevitable outcome with Patrik? And do you maybe have any regrets? Are there any moments you look back and think, maybe if I would have handled that a little bit differently, there could have been a different outcome?
I think if you have a long enough relationship with any player, your wife, whatever, there are always moments, your family, that you would look back and say, maybe if I had handled this situation a little bit differently, we could have a slightly different outcome. But at the end of the day, for Patrik, he was getting better. He was a better player last year than the year prior. I know the goals are how you judge a man, but I think he was getting better each and every year. It wasn't always easy. But he was committed to getting better, and we were committed to helping him along that process, and I believe that happened.
We'll go next to Murat Atesh from The Athletic. Go ahead, Murat.
Hi, Paul. As you say, Patrik Laine was getting better as a player, and you've seen his development on the ice. So to what degree would his desire to leave have been interpersonal?
I don't know the answer to that, because I wasn't driving that, the idea that Patrik's opportunity wasn't here. I think he had an opportunity here, and I thought it was a good one. I liked the players that he had a chance to play with. His comfort level in the room seems to have grown, but I can't give you a degree number on that.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I'm going to be kind of boring here, Coach, and just ask you about the game tonight because you are playing, and it is the third and final one and a chance to sweep. Maybe just look ahead. Are you expecting Ottawa to play with a burr up their saddle at the start like they did at the finish? And what are you guys preparing for that?
Well, thank you for the question, Kelly, first of all. I would expect that there's going to be some of it. Right. So they'll bring an energy to the game tonight, be having lost 2, but they're also, the end goal is to win. So I would expect that energy to be very, very high early in the game, but you're probably not winning a hockey game if you spend an awful lot of time in the penalty box to do it. So there'll be a game played. So I think both teams come with a lot of energy. We liked our second game. They liked their first game. We're both going to try to, reestablish that style of play that we had. I do think it'll be physical. I don't know if they've got necessarily that much younger of a team than we put on the ice here tonight, but they've got some young players that they're trying to mold and shape, and they want to have an anger to their game. When you lose 2 in a row like they have, you want to make sure that you're coming with the right intensity in the game. So our expectation, they will be at their best at the start of this game.
We'll go next to Brian Munz from TSN 1290. Go ahead, Munzie.
Paul, do you have a lasting impression or one that really stands out for Patrik? Like, would it be the 5-goal night? Would it be the trip to Finland? Would it be game 1 here, or something else that pops to the top of your mind?
I think it's more of a general feeling from the bench when he would score one of those goals where the puck would come off his stick so absolutely hot you couldn't really describe it, right? And there would be I don't know if an awe is the right word. Obviously, if he scores, there's a celebration, but there was always an awareness that man, that kid shoots the puck like nobody's business. And I think one of my favorites was I won't mention his name, but we had a third goalie come in for practice, and because Helly was taking the day off, and Patty lit one up, and the goalie was in the net giving it to himself because he didn't stop it. So he had to slide down and say, listen, kid, nobody's stopping that. Don't be so hard on yourself. But, man, he was hoping to stop Patty that day. And I don't know that Connor Hellebuck gets his glove on that one, but that was one of my favorites.
Go next to Jean-François Chaumont. Go ahead, Jean-François.
Thank you, Gregor. Paul, I'm just curious to know, you're not coaching directly with his dad, with Eric Dubois, but you know him pretty well. He's coaching the moves. What's the insight you can get from his father, knowing his personality, knowing the type of player you're going to get with Pierre-Luc Dubois?
Well, I mean, quite a bit in that's a real good. So, these young guys have different drivers, right? There's different personalities that you get an insight. So he and Pascal Vincent, would talk a lot of hockey with Pierre-Luc. So over the years, we how's your kid doing? How are things going? Watch him play. You're a little more connected to Pierre-Luc because of Eric. When you're watching the Blue Jackets play, you'd always follow him. So you got kind of this insight into the young man. And then he's a dad, right? So we got 2 of them on staff now, connected to their players. So I don't ever talk to Dave about Adam, and I won't talk to Eric about Pierre-Luc. But prior to him getting here, I'm sure he's going to be, mom and dad are pretty darn excited.
Just time for a couple more. Let's go to Jason Bell from the Free Press. Go ahead, Jason.
Paul, thanks for doing this. I don't know if we really addressed Jack Roslovic, who is obviously Columbus would consider him a very key.
This is the first question this year on him from me. Thank you.
Well, and Paul, I don't think you've called out players very often since you've been here, but I do recall a few times where being hard on Jack through the media maybe have snuck out a few times. And I just wondered, probably because you cared for the kid and you felt like there was a real player in there. And I wonder how you think he'll handle the situation in Columbus at home for him and what you see out of a guy like Jack Rock.
Yeah, he'll be fine there. I mean, there was the one in San Jose, right, where the other set up or scored the game-winning goal after having a really tough night. But that was true of our whole team. I think that was the Hellebuck 52 save performance night. Jack's going to be really good there. He is. They've got a different structure than we do, right? They're center ice. They've got more room at center ice. When Jack gets here, we've got, Mark and and Brian and Adam ahead of him, and then that's the position he wanted to play. Wasn't particularly interested in playing on the fourth line, so he gets to the third line wing, and he learns the game with Lowry and Kopp last year. That's going to serve him well, but he skates well. He can handle the puck. He can make plays. Got good vision. He's got it in great shape. I think playing at home will be real good for him. So I think this is you know what? At the end of the day, in a really unusual set of circumstances between Columbus and Winnipeg, this is going to work out for both teams and for all players involved.
And final question, Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Ken.
Well, just going back to the game tonight, you hinted at it yesterday, but what was the determining factor on the back end? And given the style that you would expect tomorrow, would you look to get Billy back in tomorrow, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a possibility because Billy doesn't come out on a lack of performance. We liked his game. Probably stronger than any of the games that he played last year, which is exciting because he is faster and he is stronger. I think he mentioned that before the game. He felt it, and we saw it. Lots of composure with the puck. There's lots of NHL hockey games for Billy to play in. But I'm really pleased where Logan Stanley's at. And sometimes these young guys, what they're lacking is a little bit of NHL confidence. They're not sure if they can play. And Logan, on a daily basis now, not just the game, so that in practice is starting to show a little bit more of the asset base that he has and a big man that moves. So Billy was a good player for us and came out of the lineup, and he's going to get an opportunity to get back in.